Joining us live now is Vice President Mike Pence. Mr. Vice President, I know you're busy. We do appreciate you taking the time to be with us and update us. First, I want you to comment. Look what's happening in the Senate.
Bet, Sean.
You know, they want to put more restrictions at this time on the airline industry, and they want to help unions. And let's see, what else are they doing here? They want, let's see, wind and solar tax credits. Now it's about the new Green Deal. Instead of helping families, people, American citizens, small business, everybody that's struggling? You kidding me?
Well, Sean, what I can tell you is that it is time for Democrats in the Senate and in the House of Representatives to step up, reach an agreement, and pass the CARE Act. The president's made it clear from early on, as I made clear to governors today in our latest conference call, where we're working with Republican and Democrat governors across the country. You saw the decisive action President Trump took yesterday with major disaster declarations in New York, California, Washington. We're building field hospitals. We're moving out Navy hospital ships. I mean, we are working seamlessly with governors across the country. And up to this point, on the first two bills the Congress passed, we saw a great spirit of bipartisanship. And as the president said tonight at the briefing, we're still hopeful. Maybe before the day is out tomorrow, that we'll see Democrats come together with Republicans and pass a bill that'll provide immediate financial assistance. The average family of four will receive a direct payment of $3,000 to help them weather the storm. There'll be payroll support for small businesses around America to be able to carry their payroll even while their businesses have been closed by the scourge of the coronavirus. There'll be the kind of resources to support the major industries like airlines and hotels that have been so deeply impacted through no fault of their own because of the coronavirus and the proper measures that they and every American are taking. But this really is a moment where the American people want to see the Congress come together. And I spoke to a member of Democrat leadership tonight on my way home. My hope, I think the president's hope, is that we'll work out the final details. We'll get this thing on the floor. We'll speed relief to the American people, and the bill will stay focused right where it should be, and that is on helping working Americans, families, businesses across this country weather the storm of the coronavirus.
Mr. Vice President, I'm holding up a letter, and I'm going to read from it in a second, from a doctor in the New York area, and if I may read from it. He has now worked with his associates, and he has a regimen. Hydroxychloroquine, 200 milligrams twice a day, 5 days. Azithromycin, 500 milligrams once a day, 5 days. Zinc sulfate, 220 milligrams once a day for 5 days. This is what he has seen. Him and his team have now treated approximately 350 patients in Kairos Joel, was an area of New York that was hit particularly hard, and another 150 patients in other New York areas. His results: we have had 0 deaths, 0 hospitalizations, 0 intubations. 0. We have a French study. We have news out of China. Israel is donating 6 million doses of hydroxychloroquine. Let me ask you, sir, I don't think I've ever seen anything more hopeful since this thing started as a treatment. And we're at the first stage of a vaccine, according to Dr. Fauci, who I admire a lot. Your thoughts?
Well, what we see in some of those anecdotal studies, we're going to put to the test. You know, the president has been working. We've been working with companies across the country. Chloroquine is a perfectly legal drug, and at the president's direction, the FDA has completed and is completing what's called off-label use approval, Sean, so that doctors can prescribe what is an anti-malaria drug to deal with coronavirus. I've read the same things you've read about combining those with other antibiotics. But we're going to work very closely with Dr. Fauci, with our team on the ground, and as we make the chloroquine available for Americans and other medications, we're going to study it. We're going to figure it out. But that's not going to get in the way of making it available. Doctors will be able to prescribe it. And based upon the studies you're citing and anecdotal evidence, it appears in many cases that it brings real relief. And I have to tell you, the president just has a strong feeling about it. You know him well. He's an optimist, and we remain hopeful. But the one thing that's been clear to me since the president tapped me to lead the White House Coronavirus Task Force is the President of the United States is absolutely committed, not just to using the full resources of the federal government, not just bringing together a partnership with state governments, a partnership with the private sector, and calling on every American to do their part, but we are literally leaving no stone unturned to address this crisis and bring relief to Americans. We sat down about 2 weeks ago with all the top pharmaceutical companies, not just in America, Sean, but in the world, and they formed a consortium at the table in the cabinet room to begin immediately working on a vaccine, which our FDA managed to start clinical trials in record time. Now, it's going to be a year and a half before a vaccine is available, but those same pharmaceuticals are working on what are called therapeutics, which we may have out by a little bit later this spring that'll bring relief to people. You heard Dr. Deb Birx tonight at the briefing talking about a whole range of new therapies and new tests that we just approved, including the new nasal swab test that'll be soon available across the country. I mean, I have to tell you that the energy and the creativity that this president has been demanding from every corner of this country is reflected in our efforts about the chloroquine. It's reflected in our ongoing effort to make sure that we bring the full weight of America to bear on the coronavirus.
Last question, Mr. Vice President. Your staff is going to kill me because I'm keeping you overtime. I apologize to them in advance. Last question. You are literally, we're watching the rewriting of history right before our eyes. Everything that you and the president are doing here, from the travel ban 10 days after the first known case in America and the quarantine, telemedicine, I believe, will be the future for sure. Public-private partnerships, we never had that. We never had drive-up testing. You announced today that we'll have at-home testing soon. And then getting rid of these FDA regulations, which otherwise it would have taken 2 years, sir, to get done. And what were the Democrats doing? They were in an impeachment trial, and Joe Biden was saying that Donald Trump is xenophobic, hysterical, and a fearmonger.
Sean, there is no question that if President Trump had not suspended all travel from China before the month of January was out, we would be in a very different place than we are today. If he hadn't issued travel advisories and begun to screen every passenger from every airport into the United States from Italy and South Korea, the same is true. Suspending travel from Europe, the UK, to Ireland. I mean, our health experts have told me again and again at our task force meetings that it's been the president's willingness to take those decisive actions that has given us time to stand up this whole of government approach in full partnership with all the states across this country, and to your point, in full partnership with the private sector. I mean, that public-private partnership, 1 week ago, with the total number of tests that had been reported back to the CDC was 53,000. 7 days later, Sean, we are at 313,000 tests that have been done, completed, and the number is actually much larger than that because that doesn't include more than 15,000 hospitals and labs. That's all a result of that public and private partnership. And can I just brag on American business for just a minute?
Yes, sir.
You know, the president, he invoked the Defense Production Act, which gives the president the authority to mandate production during times of national crisis in the defense of the nation. In fact, today, when the president signed the executive order giving the Justice Department authority to thoroughly prosecute people engaged in price gouging and hoarding. That came from the Defense Production Act. But we've been asked several times about whether the president will invoke this, will he mandate businesses? But the truth is, and this just makes me smile, makes me proud as an American, every business we have asked to step up and do their part has said yes. No one has said no yet. I mean, we've seen, again, 3M today delivered 500,000 respirator masks to New York and Seattle. Facebook just donated from their reserve more than 750,000 masks to healthcare workers. Anheuser-Busch is switching some of their manufacturing and distributing networks to produce large amounts of hand sanitizer. I mean, Americans are rising to the challenge. They're embracing the 15 days to slow the spread. They know that it's about protecting the most vulnerable among us, but American business is also rising to the challenge. And Sean, I could just tell all of your listeners all across America, we can do this. And it's going to take all of us. As the president said many times, we're all in this together. But I'm absolutely convinced, with the cooperation of the American people, with the compassion and care of our healthcare workers, with the full engagement of American free enterprise, the partnership with our states, all of our great federal leaders, and the prayers of millions of Americans, we can slow the spread, we can protect our most vulnerable, and we can heal our land.
That's our prayer, Mr. Vice President. All hands on deck, sir. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank the president. We appreciate it. And I'm sorry it went over time. I know you're busy. Thank you.